Hey, good morning. Welcome to Church 180. I hope you're having a good morning. We're glad that you're with us this morning. Whether you're a regular or you're a first-time visitor, we're really glad to have you join us. We gather on Sunday mornings to worship the Lord, and that's what we're going to do this morning. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and Randy in just a minute to lead us in singing and worshiping the Lord through song, three songs, I guess, and then we'll have the message. But I want to encourage you this morning to open up your minds, open up your hearts. Let the Lord speak to you this morning. Just try to relax, put aside the distractions. Really glad that you're here, and let's worship together.
Well, hi, Church 180. It's so good to have you back with us if you have been here before. And we would like to welcome you to join us in some songs. But first I want to say, if you're watching this right now, great job. I'm proud of you. Why are you proud of me? Well, because it's easy when there's a physical building to come in and people see that you're there, and you get that sense of, oh yeah, that person comes to church. But when there is no place to go, there's nobody really checking to see if you're watching the videos, unless they ask you questions. So if you're watching this, that means that you're really taking the time to spend time with God and to really seek after Him. And so I just want to say I'm proud of you. But this first song is called Great Are You, Lord. And here's how I kind of feel about this. Sometimes if Randy is gone at night, if he's not back for a while and there's some noises that I'm hearing outside, it makes me a little bit nervous. But if he's there, then I'm okay with it because I know that he's going to be able to take care of things. Now, the noises didn't become something else. They're still whatever they were, but I feel more protected because I have him there. And I feel like, God does that for us. Just having Him with us, no matter what's going on, whatever we're facing, having Him there just makes me feel like, you know what, things are tough, but it's going to be okay because He's going to help me handle it. So we're just going to start out by praising Him and saying, God, you are great. To the darkness, you give hope. this on purpose, but as you see, we're missing quite a few of our faithful worship team members today. Sometimes that happens, and that's totally fine, because how many people do you need to worship God? You just need one. You just need yourself. So what's funny is that not knowing that a whole bunch of people were going to be gone, Fitz picked out the song Heart of Worship, which says, when the music fades and all is stripped away and I simply come. And it's all about how we don't need to have all the instruments and all the music and all the noise for us to worship God. It just needs to be us and God. And so if you will, join with us, and we're going to sing Heart of Worship. When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. King of endless worth, no one could express how much you deserve. Though I'm weak and poor, all I have is yours, every single breath. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. song for you, and it is one of my favorites. You might think it seems a little bit dark because a lot of it is talking about difficult times, but it's actually called Blessings because it says, what if the things that we're dealing with, all the difficult stuff, is actually meant for our good, to help us grow? What if it's meant to make us who we're supposed to be? And when we're going through something like the year 2020, that is all about difficult times, right? So what if there are some things that God is actually allowing this year to change us because there are things we needed changed? So as you're listening to this song, and maybe you've heard it before, and if you haven't, then listen to it and then play it back and listen to it and until you know it enough and sing along with it the fourth time. But anyway, this song is all about God doing great things in the midst of difficult times. What if
Hey, thank you guys, Randy and Jennifer. Thank you for leading us in worship. It is amazing how many of God's blessings come in disguise. We aren't expecting them, or not. They come in a way that we weren't expecting, and so we have to be on our toes. We have to be watching, but we're grateful. We're grateful for His mercy. Hey, I was thinking, it's funny what things stick with you. As the years go by. I was thinking, I don't know what made me think of it, but I was thinking of the old newscast. Now, for all of you who are probably in the first half of life, you may not even know what I'm talking about. But for those in the second half of life, I think you will remember this. Let me see if I can recreate it. We interrupt this program to bring you a special report. Maybe you remember that, maybe you don't, I don't know. It's something that we used to see if you were watching television, a particular news event, some story broke and they wanted to bring it to you. And of course, back in the several decades right after television was I guess, popularly distributed, people could be counted on to be watching the TV at certain times of day, and it was a primary means of broadcasting, of getting information out, primary means of entertainment. Not that it isn't today, but there's a lot of different ways of doing it. But back then, when an event happened, that was the breaking news. That was the way they got your attention. And that sound I did, inadequate as that may have been, it kind of reminded me of a typewriter. Now, the same thing, some of you guys are going, oh, what? But you would hear the keys, just like on an old typewriter, as if the report was hot off the presses, and they were bringing you this special breaking news. It was a way of informing. But as the means and modes of communication have improved and increased over the years, well, that way of getting a breaking story to us isn't quite as effective as it used to be. As a matter of fact, in a lot of instances now, it's almost redundant. We've already heard about it, right? You hear this breaking news, and you kind of say to yourself, yeah, are you kidding me? I mean, well, it's old news by now, right? But we're still watching and listening for breaking news. It just comes through other means. Delivering a special report is still of importance to us, but doing it through old means like that, well, that kind of reminds me of another saying. Maybe all of you are still familiar with this. I suspect we all still experience it. The idea of being stuck in a rut, right? Stuck in a rut. Stuck in a rut of old communication forms. Stuck in a rut of using a phrase that is out of date because the way of communicating it is out of date. Stuck in a rut, if you're not familiar with that phrase, would be another way of saying doing the same thing over and over and over, trying to achieve a particular result, trying to maybe get out of a problem, but you're not going to get out of it because whatever you did the first time didn't work, so continuing to do it isn't going to work either. It's the idea of being in a situation or in a state of mind, a mood maybe you don't want to be in, and you just continue to do the same thing to try to get out of it. It really doesn't serve any purpose because it's not going to achieve your goal. It's kind of like what Jesus was talking about in Luke. And I want to invite you to turn there this morning. We're in Luke chapter 12. We've almost finished our study of Luke. Planned it out where we could spend time going from Christmas to Easter and work our way through Luke's telling of Jesus' time here on earth, his story. And I backed up just for a Sunday last week, and I want to do it again this week to kind of come back to the middle of the book. We skipped over that because of timing. But I want to come back there and revisit a particular story this morning found in Luke 12. I'm in Luke 12, verse 13, if you want to start reading there with me. Jesus was talking to a crowd. He had been teaching his disciples, and a larger crowd began to gather. Not an uncommon experience for Jesus. People were enthralled with what he had to say, and they were taken by him. And so once again, even though he's teaching those closest to him, a big crowd begins to gather. And we pick it up there. Luke says, "Then someone called from the crowd, 'Teacher, please tell my brother to divide our father's estate with me.' Jesus replied, 'Friend, who made me a judge over you to decide such things as that?' Then he said, 'Beware, guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own.'" It's interesting, isn't it? Life is not measured by how much you own. He then told a story to kind of illustrate his point. "A rich man," Jesus said, "had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, 'What should I do? I don't have room for all my crops.' Then he said, 'I know, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, you will die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for? Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God.'" Now there's a lot of things in that story. There's a lot of things in here that Jesus is trying to convey. A primary point, obviously, is that he's wanting people to understand, look, don't get caught up in pointless pursuits. Don't get caught up in the values of the world. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your resources. Don't waste your health on things that are of temporary gain. So he cautions his disciples against such futile efforts. You know, a lot of us are caught up right now in kind of a rut. I think it's fair to say that many of us, across vocational occupations, across different types of activities that we do, we're caught up in a rut. We've been doing the same sort of thing, and we aren't satisfied. You know, we're working harder, we're working longer hours. Maybe we're actually even achieving the goal we set out for, but maybe not. Maybe we're just on the treadmill. We're just, the rat in the wheel, so to speak, just running and running and running, and we're not getting anywhere. Or maybe we have achieved the goal. Maybe we have achieved that result we wanted, and we're ready to celebrate and just sit back and enjoy life. It's a funny thing. It's funny how quickly we become dissatisfied with the very thing we were working for. And you know what we do then? Well, then we set another goal. Hey, I pulled it off. Man, if I got this, I could get that. And so we begin to work at the new goal in the same way we worked at the old goal. A little longer, a little harder, giving up other things we might do. Almost becoming entrapped, almost becoming a slave to it, if you will. Jesus cautions against this because he knows us. He experienced many of the same temptations, all of them, in fact, that we do, and he understands, the temptation, the pull, the lure. Man, if you just do this, you could get that. If you just sacrifice this, you could get that. And he says, hey, don't fall prey to that. It's another way of saying, what's the point? What is your purpose? It's kind of like the next thing Jesus says in this same chapter, that this next means of educating and communicating to his people. He turns to his disciples. Remember, he's in the crowd. Now he turns to his disciples and he says, that's why I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Whether you have enough food to eat or enough clothes to wear. For life is more important than food, and your body is more than clothing. Look at the ravens. They don't plant or harvest or even store food in barns, for God feeds them. And you are far more valuable to him than any birds. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? In other words, can all the anxiety, can all the stress, all that you focus on so hard, can all of that add a single hour to your life? You know, the big things, what really matters. And if worry can't accomplish a little thing like that, what's the use of worrying over the bigger things? If you can't add a single hour to your life, how are you going to make any huge, lasting change? Look at the lilies and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing. Yet Solomon, King Solomon, the one who had all the riches, so much earthly treasure, that's who he's speaking of here. Yet even Solomon, in all his glory, was not dressed as beautifully as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for flowers that are here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow, he will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? Faith meaning, why do you so not trust the Lord? Why is it so difficult to put your trust and dependency in him? He goes on to say, and don't be concerned about what to eat and what to drink. Don't worry about such things. These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers all over the world. But your Father already knows your needs. You know, I'd like to take him at his word there. I'd like to believe that these things dominate the thoughts of only unbelievers. But I have to admit, there have been times when they dominate my thoughts too. Maybe dominate yours. It's not just unbelievers that get caught up in this, right? Then he says what we all need to hear. Seek the kingdom of God above all else, and he'll give you everything you need. So don't be afraid, little flock, for it gives your Father great happiness to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions, give to those in need. This will store up treasure for you in heaven. And the purses of heaven never get old or develop holes. In other words, you don't ever lose what you've stored because of a hole or a rotting cloth. Your treasure will be safe. No thief can steal it. No moth can destroy it. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. What he's saying is, get out of the rut. Don't keep doing what you've been doing. Resist the temptations of the world that say if you just keep at it, if you just go at it a little harder, a little longer. No, get out of this. Change your goal, change your pursuits, change what you value, change who you put your trust in, change the one you depend on. Not so much yourself, but the Lord. It's a challenging message. It's challenging because we know it's true. I mean, I suspect, maybe I shouldn't put that on you this morning, but I suspect every one of us can identify in one way or another, maybe even if not of ourselves, someone we know, a parent, a friend, a coworker, someone that we have watched struggle and stress and strive continually to achieve that elusive satisfaction. only to achieve it and be dissatisfied, only to achieve it and see the luster wear off, only to achieve it and then get right back into the rut to achieve the next goal, confident that it too will bring about what we really seek. Jesus says, no, friend, don't do that. Don't do that. Listen to me. Trust me in this. Seek first God's kingdom, the one who knows all, the one who created with good intention, the one who gave us a design that is pure and true. Trust the one who loves us. Seek his kingdom. Follow his way. Embrace his values. Don't get caught up in hoarding things. Don't get caught up in trying to gain more and more and more, because, first of all, we don't know, any of us. We in fact cannot guarantee we'll be alive tomorrow. I mean, there could be an accident, there could be all kinds of things. And today we could come down with a disease pretty quickly. Not just COVID-19. Maybe you have a heart attack. Any kind of thing could happen that you're not expecting and take you out. Then what happens to all of what you gained, all of what you worked so hard for? This is what he's trying to get to. He understands our desire to achieve. He understands our need to accomplish. What he's saying is, put your effort into something that will last. Invest yourself in good. Blessing of others. Sharing what you have. Looking out for their needs. Contributing in a way, contributing of what you have. Using your gifts and your talents, your skills, your time to help others. To help the larger society, maybe just to help a neighbor. There's all sorts of ways, and we've talked about that before. But I come back to it today because, I think there's another application for it. See, I'm dealing with the same thing you are. This isolation, this situation of limitations because of the virus. We're shut down, we're sheltered at home, and I'm not meaning to speak against that this morning. Don't misunderstand me. I mean, I've got my opinions on all that just like you do, but that's not my point this morning. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we have people who give of their time and energy to make decisions, and I know that many of them, or I'm choosing to believe that many of them are at some level trying to bring about good for the whole. But what about each of us? What about each of us, maybe in our public comments, but maybe just in our thoughts when we're at home, maybe just in our internal struggles? What are we thinking about? What are we focusing on? Oh, if I could just get back to whatever it is, right? Just get back to life as usual, the normal. Okay, that's not the new message. That's not the new application. We've talked about that before. Here's the new application. And kind of like Jesus did, when he was talking to the bigger crowd, because I recognize this morning that maybe in addition to our regulars, maybe you're visiting with us for the first time. Maybe you're new to Christianity, new to the faith. Maybe you haven't been in it a while. Maybe you've been turned off by it. Maybe you're looking for something new. I welcome you to stay on, but I want you to know that I'm going to turn just for a minute and talk to our regulars. I'm going to talk to those of us who have already made the decision to follow Jesus and have been doing so for a while. Maybe people that are actually a part of this church on a regular basis. This is who I'm talking to this morning in this part of the message. Because I think, folks, there's an application for us in this. See, I think we're stuck in a rut. I've said, and I've heard some of you say, I imagine more of you thinking, when are we going to get back to church? When are we going to get back to the fellowship? When are we going to be able to see our friends again and hang out together and worship to great music and just have a good time together? Oh, I miss it. And I do. And I'm sure you do. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but But in reading this passage, I wonder if our Lord is trying to get our attention. I wonder if He's trying to say, hey, don't miss the opportunity I'm giving you. And I don't mean to say that God caused this virus. Maybe He did. He certainly has the ability to do so. He certainly has the authority and the power to do so. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying that whether He had anything to do with bringing this about or not, I think He's trying to get us to learn something in the middle of it. I think He's trying to say, don't miss the opportunity to check yourself here, all of you. And you, my people, you Christians, those of you who follow me, ask yourself the question, are we stuck in a rut without even realizing it, without meaning to? Have we gotten caught up in just doing church the way we've always done church? Oh, maybe we've changed the forms, but are we just caught up in gathering together? Are we just caught up in doing the same things, even if we do them in a little differently? Have we lost our sense of purpose and direction? Is there an opportunity to ask ourselves, Lord, are you wanting to make a change in the way we live out this life you've given us, this new life? That's what I'm wondering this morning. That's what I'm wondering as I read this passage. As I hear Him say, hey, I know you enjoy the fellowship. I know you enjoy the way you have always been as a church. But I wonder if you'd take a minute and ask yourself, or more importantly, ask each other, and maybe even more importantly than that, ask me through prayer, collectively. Lord, what do you want us to do new? How do you want us to be your people in a new way? Do you have a different purpose for us? A tweak, maybe? A minor change? Or maybe it's a much larger one. What are you calling us to? Don't get caught up in the things that you have been so worried about. Trust me, I'm still the Lord. My promise to provide for you is still good. I love you. I don't have any desire to harm you or to cause you to struggle. I want to bless you. Oh, there may be struggle, but I'm looking to give you the good life of the kingdom. But don't get sidetracked. Don't get caught up even in your pursuits of the kingdom. Check yourself and make sure you're in line with my will. Make sure you're doing and being the church the way I've called you to be. Don't get stuck in a rut. So, what might this change be? Well, I wish I could tell you all the answer to that. I don't know all of the heart and mind of God any more than anybody else does. But I've been praying, I've been asking, and I'm inviting you to do the same. I have some ideas, and I'll be sharing those with you in the coming weeks. Whether it's by personal phone calls, personal conversations, or maybe in group video sessions, or even as we begin to gather at a socially distanced situation. What if God is calling us to be the church in new ways in order to bring about His kingdom, in order to bring about the good in the lives of others that haven't benefited yet from His kingdom, that don't know Him the way we do? And what if, in bringing about those changes, He's actually looking to bring about new growth in us? Are you willing to open yourselves to that possibility? Are you willing to consider new ways? Are you willing to step back from the temptation to say, oh gosh, Or, well, wait a minute, are you willing to step back and say, Lord, I'm your servant. I committed to follow you. You are the Lord of my life and of my church and of the way we do and the way we are the church. You are the Lord. Whatever you determine, I'm trusting it's best. And I'm willing to commit myself to it. I'm willing to open myself to listen and learn. Help me, Lord. Help me to discern what you're wanting me to do and what you're wanting us as a community to do. This is our message, friends. This is the message that the Lord has given me today. I think this is the message that Jesus intended even in telling these stories. For speaking to the crowd, the larger group of people, and speaking to the disciples, he gave a pretty clear indication that it wasn't a secret message, it wasn't a limited message. Luke captures this for us to know that this is still a message from our Lord today. Will you ask in prayer that question? Will you join me in conversation with each other? Are we stuck in a rut? Lord, help us to get out if we're in one. Give us the new. Remind us that you're true and trustworthy. Help us to be willing to risk change that we might experience and bring about an even better good. Blessings in disguise. Mercy given to us in a way maybe we weren't expecting it. We can celebrate this. It's evidence of our Lord's goodness and faithfulness to us. Thank you, friends, for being with us this morning. Thank you for joining me in this journey and this commitment to pray and begin considering what God may have for us next. I hope it's a wonderful week for you. I hope the Lord will give you glimpses of what he's wanting to do. I hope you'll begin to experience and see these mercies in disguise. May the Lord bless you and keep you till we're together again.